The silence and tranquility of an early morning on Birkenhead's Price Street was very suddenly ripped apart on December 2nd, 1925. The houses neighbouring 122 were shocked to hear the harsh crack of gunfire coming from the home shortly after 1:30 a.m. Witnesses later told, following the 3 shots, there came the sound of screams, a whistle and running feet. Seconds later, down a Cleveland Street police station, Sergeant Hammer received a phone call from one Ah Tam, a 54-year-old man who lived at 122 Price Street. The message was simple, to the point and disturbing. Send your folks please, I've shot my wife and children. Ah Tam was born in the city region of Canton, China, back in 1872. Reports would later state that Tam had received a college education, although the nature of his academic qualifications were never expanded upon. Whether highly educated or not, Tam sought out a better life in the West, and he came to England as a ship steward in 1895 when he was just 23. Liverpool, being a major port and entry point into the UK, already had a well-established and substantial Chinese community at the time. Birkenhead was considered to be the epicentre for Asian immigrants travelling to northwest England, and it's there that Tam settled. First taking up a minor job as a clerk in one of the city's many shipping offices, Tam fast became a pillar of the community, later taking on the role organising Chinese dockyard labourers and rising to a position of some importance and standing. Tam grew hugely wealthy, buying and running boarding houses across the country and establishing his own club in Liverpool for Chinese sailors. In fact, certain papers claim that he eventually became one of the richest men in Europe. He was generous too. He would hold annual Christmas parties for Liverpool's poor children at his own expense, and regularly paid hospital bills for sick and injured sailors. Tam made his affiliation with the British state official in 1903, when he married one Catherine Morgan, tying the knot in her native Cardiff. Born in 1884, the Welsh lady was 12 years Tam's senior, but the couple appeared to enjoy a happy marriage, having 3 children together. The matrimony made Tam a naturalised English subject. Ah Tam, the couple's only son, was born in 1905, Doris Ah Tam in 1906, and Cecilia Ah Tam in 1908. Tam and Catherine did have a 4th child, David Young, in 1910, but he died in infancy. Though Tam was a happy, generous and hard-working man, he was still traditional and in touch with his Chinese heritage. In 1916, he sent Loch Ling away to be educated at a prestigious school in Hong Kong. He wouldn't see his son again for another 9 years, by which time Tam would have undergone a sudden and vitriolic personality change. The docks in the early 20th century could be violent places, and Tam was often involved in breaking up fights between sailors and dock workers. In fact, he had a reputation as something of a peacemaker. In February 1918, shortly before the Chinese New Year, Tam was in his club enjoying a drink and a game of billiards when a gang of drunk Russian sailors burst in. Tam ordered the mob to leave, but the sailors were not in a passive mood. After swearing and threatening Tam, one seized a pool cue and struck Tam hard on the head, causing Tam to slump to the floor, bleeding profusely. Though Tam appeared to recover physically, it became apparent that the injury had caused a sinister and distressing change in his personality. Tam was 47 in 1918. He was rich, successful, kind and well thought of. By the eve of 1926, when his son returned home from his studies in China, Tam was unrecognisable, By 1924, Tam had become a full-blown alcoholic, drinking heavily and behaving erratically. His working life had suffered and he was declared bankrupt that same year. He had lost £10,000 on a Cardiff ship which he had intended to use for trade, an investment that went badly wrong. He was also so prone to violent and sudden mood swings, and his reputation as a kind and gentle peacemaker had all but disappeared. At the slightest provocation, Tam was known to foam at the mouth, to stamp his feet, his eyes bulging out of a swollen and purple face. Reports detailed a dinner party Tam held with a circle of 10 friends. Following a seemingly innocuous remark from a neighbour, Mr. Jones, Tam sprang up from his chair in a fit of rage, grabbed every glass on the table and hurled them one by one into the fireplace. Tam also began arguing incessantly with his wife of more than 20 years. He appears to have developed a touch of paranoia, later keeping a loaded revolver under his mattress, a loaded handgun and a shotgun in his room. Lockling arrived back in Liverpool on December 1st, 1925, in order to celebrate his 21st birthday, as well as his long-awaited return from China. A party was planned for that evening and everything seemed well. Everyone involved in the celebrations were happy, including Tam, who had refrained from alcohol the entire night and was playing the part of the proud father. The last guests left 122 Price Street at 12:45 a.m. Within an hour, 2 people would be dead and a third seriously injured. Lockling had retired around 1 a.m. when he suddenly heard arguing coming from his parents' bedroom. Feeling that his now violent and unpredictable father was abusing his mother, Lockling burst into the room, accompanied by his 2 sisters. After a brief argument, Lockling took his mother away from Tam, keen to get her next door to the Chin household, where he asked her to stay the night. Lockling took his sisters and mother down to the sitting room, then told them that he would fetch Mr. Chin. Upstairs, Catherine's servant, a Margaret Singh, heard angry mutterings coming from the master bedroom. Peeping through the slightly open door, she caught sight of Tam in the mirror. According to reports at the time, his face was a mask of fury, and he was holding a revolver. Margaret went to warn Catherine, Doris and Cecilia, who were able to barricade themselves in the kitchen while Lockling and the newly arrived Mr. Chin ran off to alert the police. They weren't quick enough. After seemingly giving up on breaking into the kitchen, Tam had slunk off, leaving the 3 women to creep back into the scullery, which they thought would be safer. The first blast from Tam's shotgun reportedly ripped Catherine's face off. She died instantly. Celia was next. Mr. Chin heard Doris say, "Oh, Daddy, what did you do that for?" before she too was shot in the head. All 3 women were left lying in their own blood on the scullery floor. Tam then calmly picked up his phone, called the police and said, "Send your folks please, I've shot my wife and children." According to witnesses, he was calmly smoking a cigarette when the police arrived. He told one of his friends, who also arrived at the scene, to ensure that, if he was hanged, his body be interred with the rest of his deceased family. Tam was arrested that same morning and charged with murder, before appearing at police court hours later. According to the arresting officers, as Tam was being taken into custody, he said to the police, "The trouble was through my son who was the cause of it." Standing before magistrates William Jackson and Charles Wass, Tam must have looked the real state. Reports at the time said he was haggard and wearing an overcoat with the collar up and no shirt underneath. The story was first picked up by the Liverpool Echo, but it fast made headlines in papers across the UK. He was charged with the willful murder of both his wife and daughter Cecilia. The 2 had died instantly when he shot them. Tam was also charged with the crime of felonious shooting with intent to murder. His other daughter Doris had been rushed off to the hospital as soon as the police arrived at the scene. She was seriously injured. When asked if he had anything to say, he replied, "Nothing at present." He was then remanded in Walton Jail to await trial. Loch Ling, along with most of the Chinese community in Liverpool, attended Catherine and Cecilia's subsequent dual funeral, which was held before the end of the year. Notices for the event had been posted all over Pitt Street, and a flamboyant cortege of 2 hearses and 20 carriages carried the 2 bodies down Flaybrick Street to their resting place. On January 21st, after holding on for more than a month with serious shotgun wounds to the head, 19-year-old Doris passed away, adding a 3rd murder charge to Tam's upcoming trial. She was buried with Catherine, Cecilia and little David at the family grave in Flaybrick. Despite Tam facing a triple murder charge, the Chinese community throughout Britain rallied about him, keen to give him the best legal support money could buy. Thousands of pounds were donated to Tam, who was able to hire Sir Edward Marshall Hall, a famed defence lawyer. Marshall Hall, who was dubbed the Great Defender, having successfully won several high-profile murder cases, including the Camden Town murder in 1907, was Tam's best hope of avoiding the noose. At the time, the death penalty was a mandatory punishment for murderers. According to various newspaper reports, Marshall Hall received a record legal fee for his services, receiving £1,000, more than £62,000 today, to defend Tam. Tam came to trial at Chester Assizes in February 1926, and Marshall Hall made it clear from the outset that Tam would be pleading not guilty by means of insanity. The celebrated barrister argued that, on the night of the murders, Tam had suffered from automatism, an act committed during a state of unconscious or grossly impaired consciousness, caused by an epileptic seizure. Marshall Hall claimed that Tam's serious head injury of 1918 had caused the episode. The prosecution and jury were not fooled. Tam had phoned the police straight after he had committed the crimes, and the prosecution argued that he had known what he was doing was wrong. The jury returned a guilty verdict after just 12 minutes of deliberation, and the judge, one Mr. Justice McKinnon, sentenced Tam to die. McKinnon shed more than a few tears as he sentenced the Chinese national to be hanged by the neck until dead. It was his first time condemning someone to death, and perhaps the ordeal had affected him. Or maybe, like Marshall Hall, he believed wholeheartedly that the man dubbed by the media as the Gentle Chinaman was indeed insane. Tam was duly put to death on the morning of Tuesday, March the 23rd, 1926, at Walton Jail. William Willis performed the execution, and Tam was buried in the prison grounds, against his wishes to be put to rest in the family grave of Flaybrick. Marshall Hall died the following year, but it was widely reported that the death of Ah Tam haunted him until his own passing. The barrister firmly and truly believed that the Chinese national was insane and did not deserve to be put to death. Those close to the famous lawyer were convinced that Marshall Hall considered the trial to be one of his biggest failures. May they all rest in peace.